My sister was the family's $2 million golden girl. They worshipped her fake struggles and ignored my scars, so I exposed her lie to the entire school. You see, my younger sister has Down syndrome with a high functioning level. She has a type of Down syndrome in which just some of your cells carry the extra chromosome. Thus, although looking slightly different, she had the same IQ as the average individual. But the rest of the world didn't know, and she did too. It took me some time to figure out what was going on because I loved her so much as a child. I didn't really consider her a friend. Instead, I saw her as someone I wanted to make happy, even if it meant making sacrifices. I always did her schoolwork when she requested and gave her anything she wanted. "We're so proud of you for being such an amazing big sister," my parents would say. This was the last time they ever praised me. Because one day, I told Linda that I was too sleepy to complete her assignment. But instead of saying she understood, or even ignoring me, she kicked the back of my legs until I collapsed and tried to breathe. I tried calling out my parents' names, and after a few minutes, my mother finally climbed the stairs. "Mom, Linda, excuse me," she said, standing there as if I had just done something wrong. "Your sister has Down syndrome. Of course she is going to make a few mistakes sometimes." She then stomped downstairs and gave Linda her favorite ice cream before returning to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Heat rushed my face. I felt a feeling of remorse go over me. Was I truly a horrible sister? That night, my query was answered. I was sound asleep at 1 a.m. Linda stormed into my room. "You know, I calculated exactly how hard I needed to kick you to make you fall without leaving bruises. Physics is pretty useful." When I looked up, I saw an evil sneer on her face, and I realized she was simply playing along with the entire Down syndrome thing. From there, things only worsened. One summer afternoon, we were eating watermelon together, and I gave her the juiciest portions. I was accidentally chewing too loudly, so she struck me in the back of the head till I felt like I had a concussion. "Stop eating like an effing peasant," she exclaimed. When my parents rushed in, I expected them to help me stand, but instead they went over to console Linda. "I'm sorry your sister can't be better. That's why my first heartbreak didn't involve a boy. It was my parents. And because Linda and I attended the same school, I couldn't avoid it. She would tell everyone what a terrible person I was, and every morning was filled with dirty looks and whispered gossip directed at me. There was only one person who supported me. Jeff. Jeff had a sibling with full-fledged Down syndrome, so he understood what it was like to care for one, and he despised how Linda treated me even more than I did. He was the only one who opened his eyes enough to notice the bruises on my body and the scars on my skin that had appeared before I learned how to follow a fire drill. However, I did nothing the entire time. Because despite the fact that everyone we knew treated her better than they did me, she still looked like she had Down syndrome, and I noticed the strange looks she got on the street, as well as the comments ignorant lads made about how they'd have to bag her face. I reasoned if the situations were reversed, I'd probably hate myself too. But then she went too far. Jeff and I were sitting together in the lunch canteen when Linda came over and perched on his lap. It was basically their first time speaking. "Hey, will you go out with me?" she said, fluttering her eyelashes. Jeff yelled out, "I'm gay, girly pop," before moving his wrist in a sleigh motion. It made me shudder, but when I looked across at Linda, she appeared to be really upset. Later that day, when I arrived home, my mother greeted me at the door. "You're not to spend time with Jeff ever again." My face lost its color. She said more. "He should be locked up after what he did to your sister. I mean, intimately assaulting a girl with Down syndrome is just disgusting." I nodded and pretended to listen before dashing to my room. Everyone at our school was posting stories on Instagram about Jeff being a rapist. Tears rushed down my face. I hoped Linda wouldn't keep going, but I was mistaken. After 6 months, Linda was testifying in court. Nobody listened to me, and Jeff was sentenced to a year in prison with no possibility of parole. This time, I knew she would not get away with it. Because 12 months in federal imprisonment allows you to reflect on strategy rather than suffering. I paid close attention to everything Linda did. I observed her when she believed no one was present. Her conversation, her mannerisms, and her victim mindset, which led her to believe the world was out to get her. And by the time Jeff left, I had devised the ideal strategy to ruin her. The day Jeff was freed was unusual. I picked him up from the jail center, and he looked different, not physically, but rather exhausted. His eyes had a hollow aspect to them, as if he'd seen things that made him older than his years. We drove silently for a bit before he spoke. He told me that he spends every day thinking about how to get back at her. I mentioned that I had a plan, but he cut me off. He answered, "No, I have a better idea. Just trust me on this one." His voice was also different, tougher somehow. I was confused, but I consented. The following week at school was weird. Jeff avoided me entirely. He wouldn't look at me in the corridors. Then, on Friday, I witnessed something that made my stomach drop. Jeff was sitting with Linda for lunch. They were laughing together. My hands become shaky. Had they jailbroken him? Was he playing a long game? I tried to capture his attention, but he refused to look at me. After school, I waited near his locker. When he eventually arrived, Linda was with him. She smirked at me before grabbing his hand. Jeff glanced at me and said, "Sorry. I realized some things while I was away. I'm actually straight, and Linda is amazing." My jaw fell. Linda's grin became larger. They both went away, leaving me standing there like a fool. That night, I was unable to sleep. I kept repeating everything in my mind. Jeff had been my lone ally, and now he's dating the person who shattered his life. It did not make sense. Unless this was his plan. I grabbed my phone and texted him. He did not respond. The next day, Saturday, I noticed on Linda's Instagram that she was at Jeff's house, meeting his family, the same family whose second kid has Down syndrome. I knew Jeff's parents well. They were really brilliant folks. If Linda wanted to fit in with them, she'd have to reveal her true colors someday. I decided to wait and see. Monday arrived, and something was different. Linda was talking more in class, answering questions correctly and using big words. People started to notice. By Wednesday, she was assisting other students with their schoolwork, which she had previously assigned to me. Children began whispering. But this time it wasn't about me. They were confused about Linda. How can a person with Down syndrome suddenly explain calculus? Jeff's parents picked him up from school on Thursday. From across the parking lot, I observed Linda talk to them. She was making hand signals and speaking hurriedly, apparently hoping to impress them. Jeff's mother kept tilting her head, attentively examining Linda. His father was frowning. That night, Jeff finally texted me back. One word: patience. Linda's life began to unravel on Friday. In biology class, she corrected the teacher about something. Everyone, including the teacher, looked astonished. At lunch, I sat alone as usual, eating an apple. I made sure to chew loudly, very loudly. Linda was seated with Jeff and his pals nearby. I could see her becoming agitated. She kept looking over at me. I took another large bite. Crunch. Then another. Crunch. She stood up abruptly. Jeff grasped her arm, but she threw him off. She stormed up to my table. I kept eating while looking straight ahead. Crunch. That was when she lost it. She took the fruit from my fingers and tossed it across the cafeteria. It smacked the wall with a splat. The entire room became silent. Every single person stared at us. Linda's face was flushed with wrath. She shrieked, "You think you're so clever, don't you? Chewing like that on purpose." I remained calm and replied, "I don't know what you mean, Linda. I'm just eating lunch." She lunged at me, but Jeff moved quickly to stop her. He replied, "Babe, calm down. She's not worth it." But Linda was not listening. She was yelling about how I had ruined her life, how I was envious of her, and how I couldn't tolerate that she was unique. The longer she spoke, the more normal she sounded. No slurred speech, no misunderstanding, just pure, eloquent wrath. Teachers began rushing over. The principal appeared. Linda was still ranting, with words that would make a college professor proud. Someone started recording with their phone. Then another person. Soon, half of the cafe had their phones out. Jeff let go of Linda and took a step back, his expression one of shock and perplexity. He commented, "Linda, you sound different." She froze. The realization struck her like a truck. She had blown her disguise totally. The principal summoned Linda to come to his office. As they moved away, I could hear children already discussing. "Did you see that? She sounded totally normal. Has she been faking this whole time?" Jeff sat down beside me. He spoke softly. "That was even better than I planned. I just wanted to make her comfortable enough to slip up. I didn't think she'd explode like that." We watched as more videos appeared on social media. By the end of the day, Linda's meltdown had gone viral across our campus. The truth was finally revealed, captured in high resolution for all to see. The weekend was awful. My phone continued buzzing with notifications every few minutes, and the screen lit up my dark bedroom like a strobe light. People from school messaged me incessantly. They wanted to know if Linda had always been like this, if I knew she was lying, and if all of her stories about me were false. I did not respond to any of them. I was fatigued and drained from years of this nightmare. Monday morning arrived too quickly. I expected mayhem when I got into school, but it was far worse. It was divided. Half of the students thought Linda was a deceitful liar. The other half believed she was still a victim who had simply had a bad day. Jeff found me by my locker. He told me, "This isn't over yet. We need more proof." I inquired what he meant. He went on. "One video isn't enough. People are already making excuses for her saying she was just stressed or having a moment. We need something bigger." I had no idea what bigger meant till lunchtime. Linda walked into the cafeteria. As if nothing had occurred. She was back to her old tricks. Slurred words, bewildered faces, the whole lot. People are paying closer attention today, however. I noticed students analyzing her moves, looking for flaws in her performance. Jeff and I sat together this time. We didn't say much, just watched. Linda sat with her normal group, but they were uncomfortable. She kept trying to engage them in conversation, but they only gave brief responses. Then Ryan approached her table. Ryan attended our AP Physics class. He was holding a textbook. He asked Linda if she could help him with an issue, saying he had heard she was quite good in physics. The cafeteria became silent again. Linda's face became pallid. She muttered something about not doing well in school. Ryan persisted. He responded, "But you told someone you calculated exact force vectors. That's advanced stuff." Linda sprang up suddenly, knocking over her tray. Food got everywhere. She started crying and went away. But as she rushed, I heard her say something about kinetic energy under her breath. More people heard it too. The remainder of the week was tense. Linda doubled down on her act, but no one was buying it anymore. Teachers began to pay notice too. Mrs. Peterson from English requested Linda to read aloud in class. Linda appeared to struggle with basic words, but when no one was watching, I caught her rolling her eyes. Alan also witnessed it. He was sitting just behind her. After class, he told everyone what he had seen. The stories began stacking up. Kids remembered Linda making mistakes in the past, such as using loud words or solving issues too quickly. They simply hadn't paid attention before. Now they were connecting the dots. By Thursday, Linda was becoming desperate. She confronted Jeff in the corridor, asking him why he was ignoring her and not defending her anymore. Jeff played dumb, said he didn't understand what she meant, but still cared for her. She grabbed his shirt and yelled, "Stop lying to me. I know what you're doing." Jeff gently removed her hands and said, "Babe, you're scaring me. You've been acting so differently lately." She stormed off. Things got out of hand on Friday. We had a school assembly discussing inclusiveness and disabilities. The principal believed it would assist to settle things down and increase people's understanding. It had the opposite effect. During the session, they discussed several forms of disability. When they stated high-functioning conditions, everyone turned to see Linda. She sat in the front row, attempting to appear puzzled, but her jaw was tight. Her hands were in fists. Following the assembly, Linda cornered me in the restroom. "You think you've won, don't you?" she asked. I cleansed my hands and replied, "I don't know what you mean." She laughed, but not in a pleased way. She went on. "Jeff told me everything, how you two planned this whole thing." I turned to face her. I responded, "Jeff and I haven't talked in weeks. You made sure of that, remember?" Her expression twisted. She responded, "Stop lying. He admitted it. You're both trying to ruin me." I shrugged and began to go. She had blocked the door. That's when Sarah entered. Sarah was Jeff's cousin. She had transferred to our school last month. She looked between us and asked whether everything was well. Linda instantly returned to her act, slurring her words and claiming she was just disoriented and needed assistance locating her class. Sarah lifted her eyebrow. She responded, "Really? Because it sounded like you were threatening her. And your speech was perfect 5 seconds ago." Linda's mask dropped barely for a second. Her face flashed with wrath. She was then pushed by Sarah and fled. Sarah glanced at me and said, "Jeff's parents want to meet with you. They have some questions about Linda." I agreed to attend after school. The meeting was tough. Jeff's parents, Ruth and Bobby, sat across from me in the living room. Jeff was also present, but he chose to remain silent. Ruth spoke first. She went on. "We've been watching Linda carefully. Something isn't right. My son Jeff's brother has Down syndrome, real Down syndrome. What Linda has, it's different. I nodded. Bobby leaned forwards. He proceeded. We did some research. Mosaic Down syndrome, which is what Linda claims to have, can vary greatly. But her behavior patterns don't match any medical literature. I told them about the incident when we were kids. How she calculated how hard to kick me and acknowledged it. Ruth's face turned grim. She elaborated. She's been manipulating everyone, including the legal system. Jeff eventually spoke up. He went on. I wanted to expose her. Show everyone what she really is. But I needed her to trust me first to let her guard down. It worked better than I thought. His parents exchanged looks. Bobby responded. We need to be careful. She's already proven she'll use the law as a weapon. We can't give her any ammunition. Ruth agreed. She went on. But we also can't let her keep doing this. It's wrong. We spoke for another hour, trying to decide what to do. That weekend, Linda made a major mistake. She expressed on Instagram how difficult it was to live with her condition and how others could not comprehend her problems. But throughout the post, she employed immaculate grammar and complicated sentence patterns with no errors. Someone took a screenshot before she could delete and publish a dumbed-down version. The screenshot spread like wildfire. By Sunday night, everyone had witnessed it. Monday mornings were frantic. Linda attended school with our parents. They marched directly to the principal's office. I could hear my mother ranting down the hallway about cyberbullying and bigotry, but the principal wouldn't have it. More parents called over the weekend. They sought answers. They wanted to know if their children had been duped, if Linda had been lying the entire time. During lunch, an announcement was broadcast over the speakers. There will be a parent-teacher conference that evening. Every family was highly encouraged to attend. Jeff found me after class. He went on. This is it. Tonight everything comes out. Just stick to the truth. No embellishments. Let her hang herself with her own rope. I returned home to find my folks furious. My mother shouted at me for 2 hours, accusing me of destroying Linda's life and calling me envious and hateful. I did not argue. I just walked inside my room and waited. The conference started at 7 o'clock. We arrived to find the auditorium crowded with parents, instructors, and students. Everyone sought answers. The principal began by stating that they were there to discuss concerns regarding a student-related incident. He didn't name Linda, but everyone knew. He emphasized the value of honesty and trust among their educational community. Then he opened the floor to questions. The first parent to speak was Kelly Allen's mother. She stated that her kid had been telling her unsettling information about a pupil who may be claiming to have a disability. She wondered what the school was doing about it. Before the principal could respond, my mother stood up. She declared, "This is a witch hunt. My daughter has Down syndrome. She's being persecuted for being different." That's when Ruth, Jeff's mother, stepped up. Her response was, "With all due respect, I have a son with Down syndrome. I know what it looks like. What Linda has been displaying is not consistent with any form of the condition." The room erupted. Parents battling with each other, some protecting Linda and others seeking inquiries. The principal attempted to restore order. That's when Linda got up. She said, "Stop it, all of you. Just stop." The room became silent. She was breathing rapidly. She had a crimson face. She went on. "You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I have Mosaic Down syndrome. Yes, I have above-average intelligence. But do you know what it's like to look different? To have everyone treat you like you're stupid before you even open your mouth?" The room remained quiet. She proceeded. She elaborated. "I learned early that if I played into it, people were nicer. They gave me things. They didn't expect much. It was easier than fighting every single day to be seen as normal. Some parents were sympathetic. Others appeared angry. My mother reached for Linda, but she drew away. She elaborated. And yes, I used it to my advantage sometimes. But my sister, she never understood. She had everything. Normal face, normal life. Everyone loved her. I just wanted some of that." Her voice broke, but it was too late. The damage was done. The principal cleared his throat. He went on. "Regardless of the reasons, there are serious allegations about false accusations made against another student. We need to address this." Jeff's father stood up. He elaborated. "My son spent a year in detention because of those false accusations. A year of his life gone based on lies." Linda's face turned white. She replied, I didn't mean." But Bobby was not done. He elaborated. We have statements from multiple witnesses who heard Linda admit she lied. We have evidence she's been manipulating people for years. This needs to stop." The room exploded again. This time the principal needed to call in security to assist settle things down. He declared that the meeting had ended and that the school will conduct a thorough investigation, with repercussions for any misbehavior. Linda refused to look at me as we were leaving. My parents remained silent. The automobile ride home was terrible. The following few days were bizarre. Linda did not come to school. The investigation was ongoing. Kids were called in to make remarks. Jeff and I were interviewed separately. We told them everything, every event, threat, and lie. The principal appeared fatigued at the conclusion of it. He claimed he had never seen something like this in his 30 years of study. By Thursday, news had spread that the police were involved, not for Linda this time, but for Jeff's bogus detention. It turns out that submitting a false police complaint is a serious offense, even for minors, even if you're disabled. My parents finally began to crack. I overheard them arguing late at night. My father suggested that they had made a mistake by not listening to me. My mother was still defending Linda, but her tone was less assured. When I arrived home on Friday afternoon, Linda was already packing. She wouldn't talk to me and kept stuffing clothes into a suitcase. My mother told me that Linda would be staying with our aunt for a bit until things calmed down. I asked, "For how long?" My mom didn't respond. That night I finally sobbed. Not for Linda. This is not for my parents. For the little girl I used to be. The one who loved her sister wholeheartedly, who did her homework and shared her toys without questioning why it was never returned. That girl was gone. It has been a long time. I hadn't wanted to admit it. The weekend was too calm. Jeff came over on Saturday. We sat in my backyard without actually conversing. He stated that his parents were pressing charges against Linda and that she would most likely receive community service, probation, and even required therapy. I inquired whether he was fine with that. He claimed it wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about ensuring she couldn't do it to anyone else. We sat silently for a while. Then he asked whether I wanted some ice cream. I said yes. It was the first normal thing I had done in years. We headed to the downtown restaurant with 30 kinds. I got chocolate, and he got vanilla. We sat outside watching people walk by. Nobody gazed at us. Nobody whispered. We were only two adolescents having ice cream. That was nice. Linda called on Sunday night, for the first time since she had departed. She sounded strange. Tired. She apologized. That is what she had been thinking. She realized what she had done. How she'd hurt others. Hurt me. I wasn't sure what to say. Part of me wanted to forgive her immediately. The other part recalled every hurt, lie, and humiliation. I told her I needed time. She said she understood and was receiving therapy. This time I really need aid, not just playing along to get people to stop bothering her. We hung up without saying goodbye. I stared at my phone for a long time, unsure if she meant it. I was wondering if it mattered. Monday at school was different. People continued to discuss what had transpired, but it was no longer the primary emphasis. Life was moving along. Jeff and I had lunch together. Not as lover and girlfriend. Not yet. Just as buddies who had gone through a dreadful experience together. Sarah joined us. So did Alan and Pamela from my English class. Suddenly, I had something I had never had before. Actual pals. People who knew the truth and chose to support me anyway. It felt strange but pleasant. My folks were still struggling. They'd phone during the day to check on me, see if I was all right, and if I needed anything. It was the most attention they had given me in years. I wasn't sure how to handle it. A part of me felt angry. Where was your compassion when I was covered in bruises? When was I crying myself to sleep? But part of me was simply exhausted. Too exhausted to hang on to my fury. By Wednesday, the principal had proclaimed that the investigation had completed. Disciplinary action had been taken. He didn't elaborate, but everyone understood what he meant. Linda's everlasting record would reflect what she had done. College applications would be impacted. Scholarships lost. Her existence, constructed on lies, was crumbling. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I simply felt empty. Jeff noticed. He replied, "It's okay to have mixed feelings. She's still your sister." I nodded, but did not trust myself to speak. That afternoon, I went to the bathroom and discovered Piton weeping in a cubicle. Piton, a freshman, had been one of Linda's strongest defenders. I asked if they were okay. They claimed they felt dumb. They had believed what Linda said. thinking they were protecting someone weak. They didn't know what to believe anymore. I told them it wasn't their fault, that Linda was skilled at deception, and that wanting to protect someone was nothing to be embarrassed of. Peyton nodded, wiped his eyes and added, "Thanks for not rubbing it in." I said, "I wouldn't do that." We had all been duped at some point. There was additional news on Thursday. The local news wanted to cover the story. The principal promptly pulled it down, saying the students involved were minors and needed privacy. I was thankful. I didn't want extra attention. Jeff's family had less luck. Someone had revealed their identity in conjunction with the fake detention. They were receiving calls from reporters. His mother was furious, saying they just wanted to move on and put everything behind them. But the internet does not forget. Screenshots of Linda's posts were still being circulated. People analyzed them and pointed out discrepancies. It was like seeing a vehicle crash in slow motion. You tried to look away, but couldn't. Friday was Linda's birthday. In previous years, there had been a great event with parties and gifts, and everyone fawned over her. This year, nothing. My parents did not even mention it. I pondered about texting her. I typed out message after message. I deleted them all. What would you say to someone who has terrorized you for years? Happy birthday seemed inadequate. Jeff inquired if I was all right. I said I didn't know. He also emphasized that it was fine that the mending process was not linear. Some days might be more challenging than others. We were seated in the library when Kai arrived. Kai was the kid who had recorded Linda's cafeteria tantrum and shared it in the group chat. They expressed shame, as if they had begun all of this. I assured them they hadn't started anything. They simply chronicled what was already happening. Kai went on. "Still, seeing someone's life fall apart because of something I recorded, it's heavy. I understood what they meant. Even though Linda had harmed me, seeing her lose everything was unsatisfying. It was simply sad. The weekend was a blur. I finished my homework, watched TV, and pretended everything was fine. My parents kept their distance from me. They'd ask if I'd like to talk. I've always said no. What was there to say? That I was correct all along. Should they have trusted me? Everything would remain the same. Sunday night my father knocked on my door. He apologized. That he had failed me as a parent. That he should have noticed what was happening. I assured him it wasn't his fault and that Linda was good at what she did. He answered with a sigh. "No. I should have protected you. Both of you. I should have gotten Linda real help years ago. Instead, I enabled her. We both did." He was crying. I'd never seen my father cry before. I hugged him. I told him we will sort it out. Perhaps it was not too late. He hugged me back and said he loved me. He was proud of me for surviving, for being strong, and for remaining compassionate in the face of adversity. I too sobbed. Years of pain, anger, and loneliness are pouring out. We remained like this for a long time. Monday brought unexpected news. Linda was returning to school. The administration decided she could finish the year under certain restrictions. She had to attend required counseling and keep a distance from certain students, including Jeff and me. Any infringement would lead to immediate expulsion. I spotted her in the hallway between the second and third periods. She looked shrunken, defeated. She noticed me too. Started walking over. Then I remembered the rules. I turned and went the other way. It was bizarre. For so long, she had been a huge presence in my life, causing fear and pain. Now she was merely a girl who had lost everything. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the bruises, the lies, and the years of suffering. The sympathy disappeared. Maybe I can forgive her someday. Perhaps someday we'll be sisters again. But not today. Not yet. Today all I needed to do was focus on mending. On rebuilding the life she had fought so hard to destroy. About being free. On discovering who I was without her shadow hanging over me. On discovering what it means to live fearlessly. On discovering my own voice after years of stillness. The next 2 weeks were bizarre. Linda stayed primarily to herself. She ate her lunch alone in the cafeteria corner. Kids would gaze, but no one spoke to her. Occasionally during class, I noticed her glancing at me. When our eyes met, she hurriedly looked away. Jeff claimed she tried to approach him once after school. Security intervened before she could go close, reminding her of the restraining order. She simply nodded and went away. Part of me wondered what she intended to say. The other half did not care. My folks were trying way too hard to make up for lost time. Mom started preparing my favorite foods every night. Dad would ask me about my day and truly listen to my response. It felt artificial, as if they were following a screenplay titled, How to Be Good Parents. I went along with it because fighting seemed meaningless. Mom remarked one night at supper that Linda's therapist wanted to do a family session to help with her healing. I nearly choked on my pasta. I told her categorically not. Dad backed me up, saying I'd been through enough. Mom did not bring it up again. School was returning to usual. The Linda drama was old news. People moved on to other gossip, such as who was dating whom, who failed which test, and other typical adolescent topics. That was nice. Jeff and I spent more time together. Not exactly dating, just hanging out, going to movies, and grabbing meals. Normal friend things. His folks would occasionally ask me over for supper. His brother Peter would show me his drawings. They outperformed anything I could do. He was pleased when I told him that. Then came a day when everything changed again. It was Thursday. I was having lunch with Jeff and Sarah when I heard a disturbance. Somebody was yelling. I turned to find Linda standing on a table. She was yelling at a freshman who had allegedly run into her. The kid seemed afraid. Everyone was staring and recording. Linda did not appear to care. She was constantly ranting about disrespect and how everyone believed they were superior to her. A teacher ran over and instructed her to get down. She refused, claiming she was tired of being treated like nothing. The teacher requested security. That's when Linda noticed me watching. Her face turned to a strange expression, as if she had suddenly remembered something. She jumped down from the table and began walking toward me. Fast. The teacher shouted for her, but she ignored him. Jeff stood up, placed himself between us, and ordered her to stop. She attempted to go around him. He moved to block her again. That was when she snapped. She shoved him hard. He stumbled backward and collided with our table. Food got everywhere. I jumped up to aid him. That's when I felt her grabbing my hair. She dragged me around to face her and began shouting about how it was all my fault, how I had ruined her life, and how everyone adored me and despised her. I attempted to get away, but she had a strong grip. Children were yelling. Teachers were running over. But before they could reach us, something unexpected occurred. Peter, Jeff's brother, arrives unexpectedly. He was meant to attend his special education class. But there he was. He came up to Linda, calm as could be. He replied, "Please let go of her. You're hurting her. That's not nice." Linda froze. I stared at him. Her grip eased. Peter smiled at her, a genuine pleasant grin. He went on. "It's okay to be mad, but hurting people doesn't make the mad go away. It makes me more mad." Everyone was hushed as they watched this child with true Down syndrome demonstrate greater emotional intelligence than any of us. Lily let go of my hair. Her hands shook. She looked around at everyone's faces and phones, which were all recording. The teachers eventually found us. There's also security. They took Linda away. She did not resist, just kept staring at Peter as they carried her away. The principal expelled her that afternoon. No more chances. She had violated every condition of her reinstatement, attacking 2 pupils and making threats. It was over. My parents were called in. They had to pick up her belongings. Mom cried the entire time. Dad simply looked exhausted. That night they told me Linda was going to a therapeutic boarding school. Somewhere where she could get the help she needed. Somewhere far away. I asked, "How long?" They estimated at least a year, possibly more, depending on her growth. I said, "Okay." Was there anything further to say? Jeff's back was bruised from hitting the table. His parents sought to file more charges. He told them no. He simply wanted it to end. They respected his decision. Peter constantly wondered if Linda was okay, if she was getting therapy for her anger issues. We told him yes. He appeared satisfied, saying that everyone deserved care whether they were unhappy or angry. The kid was intelligent beyond his years. It made me wonder how things might have turned out differently if Linda had been more like him, using her intelligence for good rather than deception. The following few days were quiet. It's too quiet, like the calm after the storm. Children at school treated me differently. Not harsh, but cautious, as if I could smash anything. I despised it. I told Jeff that I simply wanted things to be normal. He claimed normal was relative, and we'd discover our new normal, whatever it was. Sarah began joining us for lunch each day. So did Pamela and Alan. Peyton too, on sometimes. I'd gone from eating alone to with a large group. It was nice, but also overwhelming. I was not used to having buddies. A week after Linda left, I discovered a letter in my locker. Her penmanship. My hand shook when I opened it. It was long, 3 pages long. She wrote about how regretful she was, how she had been thinking about everything during treatment, how she realized she had been jealous of me since we were children, not because I was average looking, but because I was kind. People liked me for who I was, rather than because they felt sorry for me. She claimed that she had converted jealousy into hatred, allowing it to engulf and control her. She stated that she did not seek forgiveness, but rather wanted me to know that she was making an effort to change and improve. I read it twice before folding it up and putting it in my backpack. I wasn't sure what to do with it. I didn't know how to feel. Jeff inquired whether I was all right when I met him after school. I showed him the letter. He read it silently, returned it, and asked what I wanted to do with it. I said I didn't know. He said that was fine. I didn't have to make any decisions right now. We walked to his home. Peter was in the front yard, painting with chalk. He had decorated the entire driveway with pictures of flowers, suns, and stick figure families. When he noticed us, he ran over and asked if we wanted to draw together. We spent the next hour building on his masterpiece. It was the most serene I had felt in years. That weekend, my parents informed me that they too were starting therapy, family counseling, to work through their shame and mistakes. They asked if I wanted to join someday. I said, maybe someday. Not yet. They claimed they understood, that I could take as much time as I wanted. Mom had quit watching reality television. I started reading parenting books instead. Dad was more present, and he worked from home whenever possible. It was strange to see them strive so hard. But it's also kind of pleasant. Maybe we'll be a true family eventually. Jeff asked me on a specific date the following Friday. He said he had been waiting until everything calmed down and I was ready. I said yes. We went to mini golf. I was horrible at it. He wasn't doing any better. We giggled each time one of us hit the ball into the sea. It was perfect. Normal. Only 2 adolescents on a horrible date. There's no drama. There are no complications. It's just us. We walked home holding hands. His palms were sweaty. So was mine. Neither of us cared. When he kissed me goodnight on my doorstep, it was awkward, sweet, and perfectly appropriate. After that, life settled into a routine. School, homework, socializing with friends, dates with Jeff, and Sunday dinners with his family. Peter usually reserved a seat next to him for me. I told everyone I was his friend. His parents treated me like family. It was everything I'd lost growing up: acceptance, tenderness, and the sense of being wanted simply for being myself. Not for what I could accomplish for someone. Not for being silent and absorbing insults. Just for being me. 3 months later, I received another letter from Linda. This one was different. Instead of apologizing, she focused on what she was learning, how she worked with her therapist to better understand her conduct, how she started assisting younger students at the school who had impairments, how it made her feel wonderful to utilize her intelligence to benefit rather than harm. She added a snapshot of herself with a bunch of young children, all smiling. She looked different, calmer, perhaps even happy. I also retained that letter, still did not answer, but I did not throw it away either. My parents asked whether I wanted to see her. I said no. They did not push. Just mentioned that the choice was available if I changed my mind. They had also undergone significant changes. Mom apologized probably 100 times, saying she had failed both of us. Dad had begun coaching a special needs basketball team, which he said helped him appreciate what real disabilities looked like, and how much more difficult life was for families dealing with actual obstacles rather than contrived ones. We ate dinner together every night and discussed our days. It wasn't ideal, but it was better. Jeff and I had been dating for 6 months when Linda called, our first time hearing her voice since everything transpired. She sounded strange, calmer, more mature. She explained that she understood if I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to hear my voice and know she was doing better. That therapy was helpful. That she had been admitted into a special program for children with behavioral challenges, was learning coping skills, and made genuine friends. I listened but didn't say much. When she inquired how I was doing, I replied, "Good," and meant it. I was good. Finally. After years of not being excellent, I was finally good. She inquired about Jeff and whether we were happy. I said yes. She stated she was pleased, that he was a good person. I deserved someone decent. There was a prolonged hush. Then she claimed she needed to depart since group therapy was starting. Before hanging up, she expressed her love for me. I said, "Okay." Not "I love you too," just "okay." That was all I could manage. Maybe someday I'll be able to say it back. But not yet. Not today. Today, okay was enough for both of us. Senior year began with changes. Linda was not coming back. She had graduated from her program but was still attending a therapeutic college where she could continue to receive treatment while studying. My folks paid her a visit once a month. I still did not go. I did send a birthday card, however. She mailed one back to me. Small steps. Jeff and I were still together, preparing for college. We had applied to some of the same institutions, not necessarily to stay together, but because we shared similar interests. If we wind up in the same place, that's terrific. If not, we'll work something out. The year went by, prom, graduation, and summer preparations. I never imagined I'd be able to enjoy normal teenage milestones. Linda mailed a graduation card. Inside she'd written about how proud she was of me, how strong I'd been, and how sorry she was. I kept it alongside the letters, my collection of apologies. Proof that she was attempting. That perhaps people will change. Even folks who had committed awful acts. Even those who have injured you in ways that leave scars. The physical ones had disappeared. The emotional ones took longer. However, they were healing too slowly. College admission letters arrived. Jeff got into his dream school. So did I. Different schools. Different states. We decided to take a long-distance vacation. If it works, amazing. If not, at least we had each other when we needed it the most. Had someone who understood. Who had been there. Who had seen the worst but stayed anyway. It was worth battling for. It's worthwhile to strive to maintain consistency across kilometers and time zones. We have survived worse. We could survive the distance. My parents hosted a small party the night before I departed for college, attended only by family and close friends. Jeff and his family arrived. Peter handed me a drawing he had created. It was us in miniature golf stick figures, but you could tell which one was who. I agreed to hang it in my dorm room, and I would put it just above my desk, so I could view it every day. Remember that even negative situations can lead to positive outcomes. That family was not always blood-related. That sometimes the individuals who save you are the ones you don't expect. As I packed my car the next morning, I discovered one more letter, this one from my parents. They told me how proud they were. They were still really remorseful, how much they adored me. They hoped that education would fulfill all of my dreams. How they'd always be available when I needed them. Better late than never. I hugged each of them. I really hugged them. Not the stiff, perfunctory hugs of the past, real ones. Mom cried. Dad too. I might have as well. It was a moment. A good one. We had been in need of one for quite some time. The drive to college was long, gave me time to reflect on all that had happened. How different life is today. How I went from being invisible to having people notice me. Who cares? Who showed up? It was hardly the upbringing I had envisioned. It was not the family I had hoped for, but it was mine. Messy, difficult, and painful. Finally, okay. Better than okay. Good. I was good. My life was good. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.